The carriage slammed over a rut, nearly throwing Sadia from her woven seat. Outside, the colossal rhinoceros strained against its harness, foam flying from its mouth as the driver whipped it toward the village boundary. But Sadia barely felt the violent jolts. Her focus was entirely inward, fixated on a terrifying silence in her blood. The protection spell she had woven for her husband, Leander, was unraveling. The driver hauled on the reins the moment the boundary stones came into view. Even the war beast balked, digging its hooves into the earth and refusing to cross into the unnatural hush radiating from the village. Sadia didn't wait for the carriage to fully settle. She gathered herself and leapt down, her boots hitting the dust with frantic purpose. The silence of the village pressed against her ears, amplifying the gnawing dread in her heart as she ran toward the largest hut. Something was wrong. She entered the hut. The main room was dimly lit. Black masks decorated the walls. Usually, the house hummed with a chaotic warmth. Leonotis' half-finished experiments bubbled on the hearth. The air was thick with the aroma of his questionable but enthusiastic spellwork. Leander, her husband, should have been underfoot. He was a whirlwind of questions and restless energy. He'd be ready to berate her, affectionately, for her absence. Tonight, there was only silence. Sadia's hand instinctively moved to the skull staff concealed beneath her travel cloak. Leander? Her voice, roughened by days on the road and the constant rasp of dark magic, echoed in the stillness. No answer. Then, a thin figure emerged from the gloom of the dining room. Leonotis. He sat alone at the heavy wooden table, a half-eaten plate of stew before him, his face pale in the candlelight. Relief that he was unharmed warred with a fresh spike of unease. He should have been in bed, asleep. The stew smelled faintly metallic, as though the herbs had curdled. "Mother?" Leonotis' voice was small, hesitant, too quiet. And yet the air around him thrummed faintly, the pressure of his aze muffling whatever effect had quieted the rest of the village. Sadia knelt beside him, her cloak pooling on the cold stone floor. She reached out, her slender fingers gently brushing his dark orange hair. "Where's your father?" He met her gaze, his eyes fixed on her black ones. "He went to the cellar." The cellar. A shiver traced Sadia's spine, a coldness that had nothing to do with the damp earth below. Leander rarely went down there. It was her domain, the place where she stored her more volatile ingredients, the artifacts she preferred to keep away from prying eyes, and where the orb, the prison, was kept. "What is he doing in the cellar?" Sadia asked, her voice low, each word measured. "He said he heard a voice calling him. He's been going in there ever since you left." Calm down, she told herself. There was no need to worry. The creature was under an imprisonment spell. There was no way it could escape its glass orb prison. Or could it? Sadia went outside, to the side of the house to the cellar door. The door, which she always kept locked with chains, was slightly ajar. The chains were sticky with sap, and faint ward lines across the jamb had been scratched through and smeared with crude overmarks by someone. She noticed Leonotis was following her, but she stopped him with a sharp look. "Stay." Sadia descended the cellar stairs, leaving Leonotis at the top. A knot of unease tightened in her stomach. She'd told her son to wait, but the scene unfolding below was beyond anything she could have imagined. Leander was in the creature's arms, its bark-formed body twined around him like a lover, its face pressed to his. It had shaped itself into woman's image, crudely sculpted curves and features stretched from wood and vine, a mockery of human form. The dryad was a creature cloaked in bark and vines. Though its fundamental structure remained woody, a disturbing veneer had been meticulously crafted upon it. Soft curves, a familiar hourglass waist, and even the swell of her breasts were crudely replicated in hardened wood and clinging vines. The monster had not simply assumed a woman's shape, it had painstakingly mirrored the most intimate contours of Sadia, perverting her form for some design. "Leander," she choked, "what is this?" Her husband tore his mouth away, his eyes wide, pleading, but no words came. Around his wrist, a vine-thin bracelet pulsed, the dryad's black eyes fixed on her. Oko Egan, the prison had failed. Cracks veined the glass orb behind them, weeping green light. Her mind raced, trying to piece together what she was seeing. "No, my protection spell was broken. The village is silent. Oko Egan must have done something to him. My husband would never willingly betray me." Oko Egan shifted, its black eyes focusing on Sadia. It lumbered towards her, its movements heavy and menacing. "Leonotis, run!" Sadia cried out, overriding her shock. Disobeying, the boy crept closer to the cellar doors. The creature surged upward, smashing through the earthen ceiling and spilling into the night. Sadia stood against it, her cloak flaring in the sickly green glow of its power. What was once a clearing behind their hut was now a riot of unnatural growth. Twisted vines writhed from the warped remains of what was once a garden, coiling back into Oko Egan. Sadia's eyes narrowed as Oko Egan's once slender body grew, towering over her. Oko Egan stood a towering mass of gnarled wood and grasping branches. Its roots tore through the earth, leaving trails of upheaved soil. Two hollow black eyes fixed on Sadia. A low, grinding growl emanated from it. Sadia could tell by the level of Asi emanating from this creature that a single direct blow could spell her doom. She couldn't afford to hesitate. Already weary from travel, every spell would cost her blood. She spread her hands, whispered the harsh words of black magic, and a visible wave of dark energy pulsed outwards. The nearest vines recoiled, their unnatural growth halting for a moment. "I will not let you spread your filth any further," she said, her voice a low hiss. Oko Egan roared again and lunged. Its massive, root-like fist crashed into the ground where Sadia had been standing a moment before, leaving a crater of earth. Sadia reappeared several yards away, her movements fluid and swift. She extended a hand, and a stream of viscous black liquid shot towards the creature. Withering grasp. The liquid struck Oko Egan's trunk, and a patch of bark began to blacken and crumble. The creature howled, a sound of splintering wood and tortured life, but its leaf shield shimmered faintly, drinking in the entropy and turning parts of it back-ordered and sharp. Sadia pressed her advantage, but each spell tore deeper at her. Still, she leaped onto the creature's trunk, her bare feet finding purchase on the rotting bark. "You are going to die here," she hissed. She placed her hand on Oko Egan's surface, and dark energy flowed from her, tendrils of black and purple spreading like veins across its wood. Death Bloom! Her devastating spell was unleashed, but at the same time, Sadia's vision tunneled. The spells were beginning to take their toll on her already depleted Asi reserves. Oko Egan convulsed, flinging Sadia off. Cracks appeared in its trunk, and a sickly green light pulsed from within. Sadia extended her hand, black poison swirling around it, thickening into a grotesque, bubbling mass. Oko Egan reacted, a surge of green energy erupting from its form. It thrust a mass of leaves from its head, creating a large shield of leaves shimmering with green energy. Sadia launched her attack. The force of the blast sent Oko Egan staggering backward, but the shield's reflective surface deflected the curse into the nearest living conduit. Leonotis screamed as black poison erupted from his mouth and eyes, collapsing to the ground. Sadia froze as she realized her own spell was reflected back. "Mirror ward," she whispered in horror. Razor-sharp leaves followed, one tearing into her gut. She cried out, collapsing to the ground. Oko Egan turned its attention to Leonotis, who had been frozen in terror. The creature paused as if deciding, then carefully reached into its core and pulled out a pulsating green seed. "Wait, no!" Leander began, but Okoegan only growled, savage and intent. His pupils glowed green, words spilling out not wholly his own. "Son, do not worry. It won't hurt. It will be over soon." "Mother," Leonotis whispered, fading. Okoegan thrust its arm, now a mass of writhing branches, towards the boy's chest. "Stop it! You will not touch my son!" Sadia screamed. She lunged, grabbing Okoegan's arm. The creature's arm sprouted more appendages, plunging into her flesh. Sadia screamed in pain, and with a desperate surge of effort, said the words, "Dark decay." And the deadly magic spread forth, severing the arm of the creature. But it was too late. The seed was already embedded in Leonotis's chest. As if having a mind of its own, it buried itself into the boy. The seed attempted to close the wound, but the amount of poison in the boy paralyzed it, leaving a gaping hole. Sadia fell, the severed arm of Okoegan withering into dust beside her. She looked to Leonotis, lying on the ground, his face contorted in agony. Then he lost consciousness. Okoegan, weakened and maimed, turned and lumbered towards the forest, its form shrinking. Leander staggered after it, as if pulled by root strings, vines tightening around his wrist. He looked back only once, torn, before vanishing into the shadows. The world narrowed to pain and choices. A figure stumbled out of the shadow of the main hut. Chinaka, the village healer, rubbing sleep from her eyes, her face crumpled in confusion at the wrecked clearing. Panic bloomed as she saw the fallen mother and son. She began to use her magic, trying to heal them both. "No, don't, Chinaka," Sadia gasped, her voice thick with blood. "You don't have enough A's to save both of us." "Save him," Sadia gasped, blood bubbling in her throat. She pressed her palm over Leonotis's wound. The poison flowed out of his body and into hers, black tears streaking her face. Her strength crumbled. "Now, heal him. Take care of my son." And then she was still. Chinaka's hands shook as she poured what little R's she had left into the boy. Against all odds, the wound closed, his breath steadied. Leonotis lived, but as Chinaka looked up, she saw the wreckage, Sadia's body, the empty space where Leander had run after Okoegan, and the monstrous shadow of Okoegan retreating into the forest. The air in the royal dungeons hung thick and cold, a cloying miasma of mildew, despair, and something acrid that prickled Prince Rhaegar's nostrils. Torches flickered fitfully in their sconces, casting dancing shadows that writhed across the damp stone walls, each flicker seeming to emphasize the hopelessness etched into the faces of the other prisoners. Rhaegar, however, moved with grim purpose, his polished boots clicking softly on the flagstones as two heavily armed guards flanked him. They stopped before a cell at the deepest end of the corridor, a place where the silence was heavier, the darkness more profound. A figure huddled in the corner, barely discernible in the gloom. The stench emanating from the cell was particularly rank, a sickly, sweet decay mingled with the sharp tang of old blood. Njiru, Rhaegar's voice, usually resonant and commanding, was low, almost a whisper in this oppressive place. A rasping cough echoed from the corner, followed by a slow, agonizing shift. A pair of hollow eyes, burning with a feverish intensity despite their sunken state, fixed on Rhaegar Njiru, the black Ace-bearer whose name had become a whispered curse within the palace walls, imprisoned for the unspeakable desecration of a deceased royal family member, his experiments with necromancy, a taboo so profound it had shaken the very foundations of the kingdom. Njiru's frame was skeletal, his once powerful build ravaged by starvation and torture. Scars crisscrossed his exposed skin like grotesque calligraphy, testament to the tender mercies of the royal interrogators. His matted hair, blackened with dirt, clung to his skull, and his lips were cracked and bleeding. "Prince!" "Rega," Njiru croaked, his voice a dry rustle of dead leaves. "What? What brings the lion to the rat's cage?" Rega stepped closer, the torchlight revealing the morbid fascination in his own eyes as he studied the broken ace-bearer. "Intrigue, Njiru, your talents. They are unique." A sardonic smile twisted Njiru's lips. "Talents that earned me this delightful accommodation, and the enthusiastic ministrations of your guards." He gestured weakly to the chains that bound his emaciated wrists to the wall. The transgression was severe, Rega conceded, his gaze unwavering, defiling the royal dead. It struck at the heart of our traditions. "Traditions," Njiru spat the word like a bitter seed. "While your glorious traditions leave your kingdom vulnerable, your armies bleed and die, feeding the earth. I offered a different path, a stronger path." Rega's interest peaked. "Undead soldiers. You claimed you could raise them." Njiru's eyes gleamed with a desperate intensity. "Not claimed, demonstrated, before your zealous protectors intervened." The prince considered this, his mind racing. The war against the northern tribes was dragging on, their losses mounting. The prospect of a tireless, fearless army, immune to pain and death. It was a tempting one, a dark seed of ambition taking root in his heart. "The risks," Rega began, a hint of caution in his voice. "The risks of stagnation are far greater, Prince," Njiru countered, his voice gaining a sliver of its former power. "Imagine an army that never tires, never retreats, never mourns its fallen, an army that will fight until the very stones crumble." Rega's gaze drifted to the other prisoners, their faces etched with weariness and despair. The contrast with Njiru's vision was stark. "What would you require?" he asked, his decision teetering on the edge. Njiru's hollow eyes burned into Rega's. "Freedom. Release me from these chains, from this starvation. Give me access to resources, and I will give you your undead legion." A tense silence hung in the fetid air. Rega considered the enormity of the proposition. Freeing a man reviled by the entire kingdom, an ace-bearer who had committed the ultimate sacrilege, but the potential reward. "An undead squad," Rega clarified, his voice firm. "A demonstration of your capabilities. If they prove effective, then we shall discuss further arrangements." He wouldn't unleash a full legion until he saw proof. Njiru nodded slowly, a flicker of something akin to hope in his gaunt features. "Agreed, Prince. Release me, and I will raise for you soldiers who will make your enemies tremble in their living boots." Rega met Njiru's gaze, a dangerous pact forming in the depths of the dungeon. "See to it, Njiru. Your second chance. It is a precarious one." He turned to his guards. "Release him." The guards exchanged uneasy glances, but obeyed their prince's command. The heavy chains clanked against the stone as they were unlocked, and Njiru, weak but with a spark of dark purpose rekindled within him, slowly rose to his feet, his gaze fixed on Rega, a silent promise of unholy service passing between them in the suffocating darkness of the royal dungeon. In the heart of Oyo-Ilu, beneath the shadowed eaves of the old palace compound, where murals of deified kings stared down with chipped grandeur and termite-bitten feet, a hidden chamber throbbed with quiet dissent. It was once an ancestral archive, a circular room buried behind the Zamani Hall, where griots had sung lineages into the dust-thick air for centuries. But now the scrolls had been pushed aside. Mats replaced the old stone stools, and the room had taken on a darker purpose. A single oil lamp burned low, casting shadows that danced like spirits across the red clay walls. The smell of camphor, kola nut, and burnt palm frond drifted from a brass censer in the center. No guards stood watch outside. Only the double sound of the royal talking drum from the courtyard could be heard, muffled and distant like a dying heartbeat. 4 men knelt around the flame. At their center sat Prince Rega, his face painted with streaks of blackened camwood, marks used in times of ancestral war. His eyes, usually shrewd and unreadable, burned tonight with the clarity of conviction. Across from him sat Chief Tendaji, the Bashorun, a man whose white beard curled like ancestral smoke and whose voice once echoed in the king's council like a thunderclap. Beside him, Diviner Zuberi, the royal historian and Aesizier, whose face was a mask of ash, lips stained from the bitter root he chewed for second sight. The final man, Commander Seku, the commander of the palace's elite leopard guard, sat with one hand on his cutlass, the other clutching a small pouch of dried herbs known to paralyze a man in under 10 heartbeats. None spoke for a long time. The silence in ancient custom was a kind of truth serum, a testing ground. To speak before the ancestors had circled the room twice in silence was to curse your own plan. When at last Chief Tendaji spoke, his voice cracked like old iron. Your father grows weaker with each passing moon. His vision dims. The northern gates rot. The desert raider attacks return, and he responds with divinations instead of daggers. Oyo Ilu cannot be governed by ghosts. Prince Riga's jaw clenched. He dreams of the past. He believes thunder will answer him because it once did, but the gods no longer strike for him. Diviner Zuberi hissed softly, casting a handful of powdered snail shell into the flame. It sparked green. The ancestors turn their backs, I have seen them. The Ori of this kingdom bends, Prince, but not toward your father. His crown weighs down the land like a grinding stone on cassava. Commander Seku leaned forward, voice low and taut with held fury. My warriors eat fermented yam and patch their spears with copper wire. When I asked for iron, he sent me proverbs. When the reavers came last harvest, we lost 17 men. The king buried their names beneath rituals, not action. Rhaegar nodded slowly, and yet he lives. That, said the Bashoran, is why we are here, to discuss how he dies. The flame cracked. The censer hissed. Rhaegar did not flinch. In the dungeon, he had already freed one enemy of tradition. What was one more transgression, if the kingdom demanded it? Diviner Zuberi turned his gaze to Rhaegar. You must understand, this is not murder. This is ritual correction, a cleansing of the stool for the good of the kingdom. Commander Seku added, but the blood must fall on a night without drums, and the people must believe he went by the will of the gods. The Basharan reached into his cloak and withdrew a small bronze mask, a replica of the sacred Kivoli mask, used to summon ancestral dreams in funeral rites. This shall be worn when the deed is done. The last thing he sees should be the face of the ancestors, not yours. Rhaegar reached out and took the mask, his fingers trembling only slightly. What of his loyalists? He asked, voice level. The Mofalme Council? His seers? Diviner Zuberi grinned, teeth brown with cola. Half already pray for your rise. The others can be redirected or silenced. Rhaegar bowed his head. Then it is settled. On the night of the third moon, when the bat cries thrice before midnight, we do what must be done. No drums, no mourning. The crown will not touch the earth. It will pass cleanly. They passed a gourd of bitter gin between them. Each man sipped without flinching. When the gourd returned to Rhaegar, he drank last, then crushed it in his palm. Let it be done. Outside, the drumming in the courtyard ceased. Inside the hidden chamber, history pivoted, not on a battlefield, but on whispered oaths and the brittle neck of a dying king. Leonotis's eyes fluttered open, greeted by a soft, pulsating blue light. He blinked, the glow momentarily obscuring the figure above him. As his vision cleared, he saw a woman, her arms outstretched, the light radiating from her hands like a benevolent aura. Slowly, the luminescence receded, and she lowered her arms, settling back with a soft sigh. Thank goodness, the woman breathed, a visible wave of relief washing over her features. You're awake, Leonotis. Leonotis stared, his gaze clouded by a profound confusion. Who are you? His brow furrowed, a new unsettling question forming. Wait, who am I? A tendril of panic coiled in his chest, tightening with the terrifying realization that his mind was an utter blank. No name, no place, no past. The woman's shoulders slumped, a weary note entering her voice. I feared this might happen. My name is Chinika, and you're in my clinic. Hours later, the bright, airy clinic, with its soothing green landscapes painted on the walls, had become a temporary haven. Leonotis, feeling a tremor of nervous energy rather than actual physical readiness, addressed Chinaka. Is this where I live? He asked, a hopeful edge to his voice. The thought of a permanent home like this, filled with light and gentle comfort, was surprisingly appealing. Chinaka offered a soft smile. No, you live just across the street, Leonotis. When you're feeling up to it, we can go see it. Leonotis's eyes widened with a sudden eagerness. We can go now, he insisted, pushing himself up. I want to see it. Chinaka, perhaps a little surprised by his sudden insistence, led him out. The walk was short, but as they stepped inside the hut across the street, Leonotis recoiled. The air thickened with a strange, heavy scent, and the walls, painted a stark, oppressive black, were adorned with a macabre collection of skulls and bones. Occult posters leered from every surface, and strange, unsettling artifacts cluttered every available space. Are you sure this is where I live? Leonotis asked, his voice tinged with a distinct note of disgust, a shudder running through him. The contrast to the clinic was stark, chilling. Chinaka hesitated, her own unease palpable. She shifted her weight, glancing around the unsettling decor. Oh yes, she said, her voice a touch too bright, too forced. This is it. They moved into a smaller room, a modest bed tucked into a corner. Chinaka swept an arm around the dismal space with an overly enthusiastic gesture. Aha, this is your room, she declared, her tone practically chirping. Try looking through your things. I'm sure you picked all this out yourself. I can confidently say this room is very much you. Leonotis stared at the dark, cluttered space, a lump forming in his throat. I can't believe this is my room, he muttered, the words barely a whisper. The idea that he had chosen any of this, that this reflected him, was deeply disturbing. It felt oppressive, sinister. He didn't want to set foot inside. Chinaka saw the distress etched on his young face. She cleared her throat, trying for a more reassuring tone. Well, you and your mother both have black magic affinities, so this is the sort of aesthetic they usually go for. Why don't you go in and take it in? Leonotis took one hesitant step, then spun back, his face pale, his eyes wide with an almost desperate plea. I'll come back another day. Can I stay at the clinic a little longer? Chinaka sighed, a familiar weariness settling over her. Of course, but I have other things to attend to. Just stay here for a little while and explore. If it gets too much, you can always come back to the clinic. It's just across the street. No, please, I don't want to be here, Leonotis cried, rushing to Chinaka and wrapping his arms around her tightly, burying his face in her side. I promise I won't be in your way. A soft smile softened Chinaka's features, and she gently patted his back. Oh, all right, she relented. But I really do need to go to town. Oh, I know, she said, her smile widening as an idea sparked. Leonotis looked up at her, curiosity replacing his fear. Later, Leonotis was perched in the waiting room of the clinic, utterly absorbed in a book about swords and dragons, the strange, unsettling memories of his home momentarily forgotten. Chinaka sat at her desk, the soft scratch of her pen on paper the only sound. She glanced up at Leonotis, a small, knowing smile playing on her lips. This boy is so different from the lonely, creepy child I used to know, she mused. She remembered a mischievous boy, always playing mean tricks. If I didn't know better, I'd say he was an innocent angel who never hurt a fly. A sharp knock echoed through the quiet clinic, and Leonotis looked up just as a large man entered. He was an imposing figure with dreadlocks, a sharp fade haircut, and a vibrant multicolored bead necklace resting against a deep green robe. Sunlight glinted off his gold earrings, but it was the sword at his side that truly captured Leonotis's attention. It looked exceptionally well maintained, razor sharp, gleaming as if freshly oiled. "Chinaka, you're all right," the man boomed, his face breaking into a wide, relieved grin. He strode over, his concern palpable. "Yes, Gethi, I'm fine," Chinaka replied, a hint of exasperation in her tone. "I told you that in my message." "This is the last time I leave you alone," Gethi declared, rounding the desk. With one arm, he pulled Chinaka close by her waist, a sudden intimacy that made her blush. Then she noticed Leonotis, eyes wide, staring from across the room. Quickly, she placed her notepad in front of Gethi's face, gently pushing him away. "Slow down, lover boy. We have a child present." Gethi looked at Leonotis, startled, his eyes scanning the room as if searching for other hidden people. When did he get here? "I've been here the whole time," Leonotis exclaimed, leaping to his feet, the book forgotten. "Is that a real sword? Are you a swordsman? Have you ever killed anyone? Can I try it, please?" A relentless barrage of questions poured from him, his voice filled with an almost frantic enthusiasm. Gethi blinked, recovering his composure with a chuckle. "Yes, yes, yes, and no," he answered, then his brow furrowed. "Leonotis, is that really you?" "Oh, you know me?" Leonotis asked, a flicker of hope in his eyes. Someone else who knew him. "Gethi, let me explain," Chinaka interjected, gently pulling Gethi into the next room. She quickly recounted the events of the night before. "Gethi, I need your motorcycle to get to Naga," she said, reaching into the folds of his robe and deftly extracting a set of keys. "The roads have been getting more dangerous lately, so maybe I should go with—" Gethi began, a worried frown on his face. Chinaka cut him off, already gathering her things. "Someone needs to watch Leonotis. I can take care of a few monsters on the road." She gave him a reassuring look. "I just need to do a little shopping, Leonotis. I'll be back in a few hours." With a wave, Chinaka got on Gethi's motorcycle and sped off down the dirt road, leaving a cloud of dust in her wake. Gethi watched her go, then looked down at Leonotis, who was still gazing up at him with open admiration. "Can you teach me how to be a swordsman?" Leonotis asked, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "What?" Gethi asked, taken aback. "You want me to show you?" He pointed at himself, then at Leonotis, a look of incredulity on his face. "Yeah, hard pass on that," Gethi said, shaking his head. "Please," Leonotis began, his voice laced with desperate hope. "Nope. Now go read one of your books on death or something," Gethi said, waving him away dismissively. "Why not? You're a creepy pain in the ass." "I don't remember." "Listen, I get you've got amnesia, kid," Gethi interrupted, cutting him off with a weary sigh. "But just because you don't remember being a pain in my ass doesn't mean I don't." He turned and walked back into the clinic, flopping down onto the couch with an audible groan. Leonotis watched as the man, seemingly unfazed by the boy's presence, promptly fell asleep. He wondered, a hollow ache beginning in his chest, what he had done to make Gethi dislike him so much. He walked out of the clinic, his gaze drawn to his unfamiliar house across the street. Then he turned and walked down the road. The village was small, a handful of homes, most of them empty or abandoned. He saw a man walking on the side of the road. The man saw Leonotis, turned sharply, and quickly walked away as if fleeing a plague. This wasn't the only time it happened. Anyone Leonotis saw either ignored his greetings or shouted at him to leave them alone. Leonotis ended up back in the field next to his hut, a deep ache settling in his heart. Everyone in the village seemed to hate him for something he couldn't even remember doing. He wasn't even sure if he deserved their hatred. The only people who seemed willing to talk to him were Chinaka and Gethi, and even Gethi seemed to despise him. "Just who exactly am I?" Leonotis whispered to himself, a tear tracing a path down his cheek. "Everyone in this place hates me." "They don't hate you. You've just always been a pain in the arse, though their tune might change once they hear about what happened to you last night," Gethi's voice rumbled, startling Leonotis. He hadn't noticed the man approach, his presence as silent as a shadow. Leonotis wiped his eyes, turning to face him. "How come Miss Chinaka and you are willing to talk to me?" Gethi leaned against a nearby tree, shrugging. "Chinaka is basically a saint who loves every living thing, and your little tricks never worked on me, kid," he said, a faint smirk playing on his lips. He sighed, rubbing his head. "All right, look, you have amnesia, right? So until you get your memory back, I'll be your friend." Leonotis's face lit up, a sudden surge of warmth displacing the cold ache in his chest. "Really? Thanks." He quickly wiped away the remaining tears. "Are you going to show me how to use a sword now?" "What? Are you still on about that?" Gethi groaned, looking utterly exasperated. Then a flicker of something, perhaps resignation, perhaps amusement, crossed his face. "Fine, but only for today. And you gotta call me Master Gethi from now on," he declared, a challenging glint in his eye. "Master Gethi," Leonotis said immediately, his voice filled with unwavering conviction. "Okay." Gethi trailed off, surprised at how readily Leonotis accepted his demand. "I don't have any practice swords, so we're going to have to go to a tree and get a branch, something we can use as a wooden sword." Gethi walked to a nearby tree and with a practiced snap broke off a sturdy branch. Leonotis, inspired, began searching for his own. While walking to a tree, his foot hit a branch on the ground. He bent down, picked it up, and his eyes widened. "I found one!" he shouted, running to Gethi, holding out his discovery. "Whoa, that almost looks like a real sword," Gethi said, impressed despite himself. The branch was surprisingly straight, with a natural curve that resembled a hilt. "Where did you find it?" "On the ground by the trees," Leonotis said, grinning from ear to ear. "It's a great stick, huh? I'm going to call it my tree branch sword." "Calm down, kid. It's just a stick," Gethi said, though his gaze lingered on Leonotis's sword, looking dissatisfied with his own, much less impressive branch. "All right, let's get started. Now try to hit me." Leonotis gripped his sword with both hands, his new master's words a challenge. With a fierce, determined look, he lunged, a clumsy, uncoordinated attack. Gethi, with an easy, almost lazy sidestep, avoided the strike, looking unimpressed but ready to instruct. The first lesson had begun. A teenaged boy stood before the throne room doors, a picture of brutal elegance. His curly black hair sat above a sharp skin fade. He wore wealth like a second skin, a black tunic alive with gold stitching, perfectly tailored pants, and leather shoes that gleamed. But the true focus was his hands, currently locked around the throat of a king's guard. The man gurgled, eyes bulging before rolling back, his body collapsing in a heap. Flanking the boy were two silent guardians, their identities lost beneath the heavy, light-absorbing fabric of their cloaks and a wooden mask. "Prince Rhaegar, this is a coup," one stated, their voice low and rough. "But you can't kill everyone. You'll need people to run things." Rhaegar's grip was already tightened on a second Kingsguard. He let out a short, sharp breath. "They're loyal to the death. They won't serve me." "I'll serve, please," the Kingsguard choked out. Snap. The bodyguards sighed in unison, a soft rustle of dark cloth. "Can't have traitors," Rhaegar said, wiping his hands on his exquisite pants without a trace of remorse. "Njiru's corpses will take care of the rest of this trash. Let's go." He pushed the doors wide, stepping into the light of the throne room where the king was waiting. King Rhaegar was once a man of legend. Born Rhaegar Liptus III, the son of a scholar and a warrior queen, he rose to the throne in a time of great upheaval. Famine, rebellion, and foreign invasion pressed in from all sides. But King Rhaegar was brilliant, charismatic, and ruthlessly efficient. He pacified the southern tribes through diplomacy, shattered the eastern rebellion with unmatched brutality, and made an alliance with the mystics of the High North, those who whispered of forbidden magic buried beneath the ice. But it was his obsession with immortality and control that broke the spine of his soul. In secret, King Rhaegar made a pact with the Night Below, a nameless abyss of demonic power that promised him eternal life, arcane might, and dominion over all. The cost? His humanity. Over the years, Rhaegar stopped aging. His eyes began to glow faintly crimson. His once compassionate speeches became ruthless manifestos of strength, conquest, and necessary blood. His enemies called him Rhaegar the Crimson. His own people whispered other names: the Winged Tyrant, the Starving King, the Demon in Gold. His wars multiplied. Whole provinces were drained to fund conquests in distant lands. The western provinces, once fertile, lay dying under the weight of taxes, conscription, and hoarded grain. His wife, Queen Yelena, vanished. Some say she was exiled. Others say she tried to stop him and was consumed in a fire of his making. His only son, Prince Rhaegar, was raised in shadow. He was educated by the finest minds and tortured by his father's monsters, taught statecraft by day and survival in the dungeons by night, whispered to by the palace ghosts, loved by none except two, his guards, former assassins who defected to protect the boy for reasons unknown. They became his blades, his eyes, his family, and now, his vengeance. The throne room crackled with a palpable tension. Prince Rhaegar stood before his father, King Rhaegar, the ornate tapestries depicting royal victories seeming to mock the grim reality of the kingdom. Sunlight streamed through the towering stained glass windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air, oblivious to the weight of the words about to be exchanged. "Father," Rhaegar began, his voice resonating with a steel that had been forged in the fires of his growing discontent. "Your reign, it is bleeding this land dry. Unnecessary wars on every border, each one swallowing more lives and resources. The famine in the western provinces, your decrees have only exacerbated the suffering." King Rhaegar, a man whose once regal bearing was now marred by a cruel arrogance, leaned back on his gilded throne, a dismissive smirk playing on his lips. "Sentimentality ill befits a prince, Rhaegar. Wars forge strength. Famine, it culls the weak. These are the necessary burdens of a ruler." Prince Rhaegar's bodyguards watched the king with unwavering intensity, their hands never straying far from the hilts of the blades under their cloaks. Rhaegar's hands moved with a swiftness that belied his noble upbringing. From beneath his clothes, he produced two intricately crafted handguns, their barrels gleaming with an inner light. They were custom-made, a forbidden technology melded with ancient magic, loaded with bullets painstakingly infused with pure light essence. The very air around them hummed with contained power. The king's smirk widened into a booming laugh that echoed through the vast chamber. "Those toys? You think those trinkets can threaten me?" A visible ripple distorted the air around him, his features shifting, elongating, becoming sharp and monstrous. Leathery wings unfurled from his back, casting grotesque shadows on the marble floor. His eyes glowed with malevolent crimson light. King Rhaegar was no mere man. The moment King Rhaegar's features twisted into a demonic visage, a roar tearing from his throat, the ornate throne room became a battleground. Guards, their faces masks of sheer terror, scattered like startled pigeons, tripping over their own feet in a desperate scramble for the relative safety of the shadowed corners. The Demon King, now a hulking brute with leathery wings that beat the air with a violent gust, lunged towards Rega, his clawed hand a blur of motion capable of tearing through steel. But Rega, his movements honed by years of clandestine training in the palace underbelly, reacted with surprising speed. He sidestepped the attack, the monstrous hand whistling past his ear, close enough for him to feel the heat radiating from its scaled surface. In the same fluid motion, he raised both custom handguns, the intricate carvings on their barrels glowing with contained light magic, and fired. Twin bolts of pure, incandescent light erupted from the muzzles, streaking across the throne room like miniature suns. They slammed into the Demon King's broad-scaled chest with a resounding impact that echoed through the chamber. The air crackled with the sharp scent of ozone and the sickly, sweet stench of demonic ichor as the light seared through the thick hide, leaving glowing, smoking wounds that pulsed with raw energy. The king roared, a sound of pure agony and fury, the force of the blasts staggering his advance. He stumbled back a step, his crimson eyes blazing with hatred. However, the damage, though significant, was fleeting. Even as the light continued to burn into his flesh, a visible shimmer rippled across the king's demonic form. The edges of the wounds began to twitch and writhe, the blackened flesh knitting back together with unnatural speed, the glowing edges fading as the regenerative power of his demonic essence took hold. Enraged by the sting of the light, the king roared again, a sound that seemed to vibrate the very stones of the throne room. He swiped a massive clawed hand, each talon the length of a dagger, in a wide arc aimed at Rega. Seeing the attack coming, Rega dove behind a thick marble pillar, the king's claws scraping against the stone with a shower of sparks, the impact leaving deep gouges in the once pristine surface. Even as Rega sought cover, his two bodyguards, Zuri and Kenya, moved with the seamless precision of a well-oiled machine. Their blades, humming with their own inner power, flashed in the flickering torchlight. Zuri, swift and agile, darted in low, her curved blade aimed at the king's leg, forcing him to shift his weight. Kenya, her movements more grounded and powerful, met the king's next swipe head-on, her broadsword intercepting the monstrous claws with a resounding clang that jarred her entire arm. Sparks flew as enchanted steel met demonic bone. They danced around the enraged king, a whirlwind of flashing steel against his hulking form, their practiced coordination allowing them to anticipate his brutal attacks, deflecting blows that could shatter stone with surprising strength and precision. Their blades sang a deadly song, each parry and strike a testament to their unwavering loyalty and deadly skill. During a brief lull in the chaotic dance of demon and warriors, Rega, his breath coming in ragged gasps, lowered his empty handguns. The king, his wounds already mostly healed, let out a chuckle. "Useless little prince. Your flashy toys are but pinpricks. You cannot hope to harm me." Rega's lips curved into a grim smile. "You're right, father. These alone, they aren't enough." He nodded towards his bodyguards. "But I am not alone, and these aren't the only weapons armed with light." As if on cue, Zuri and Kenya, with synchronized movements, shed the cloaks they had been wearing. In their hands, they each wielded a Gatling gun, crafted from a similar blend of forbidden technology and ancient light magic. The multiple barrels gleamed with the same potent energy as Rega's handguns. The throne room filled with the deafening roar of the Gatling guns. A relentless barrage of light-infused bullets tore into the Demon King. Scales shattered, demonic flesh shredded, and the air filled with the stench of burning corruption. The king roared in agony, his massive form staggered by the sheer volume of the assault. Healing magic, potent as it was, couldn't keep pace with the devastation. Finally, with a shuddering groan, the demonic form flickered, collapsing inwards, reverting back to the human shape of King Rega, his face contorted in a mask of shock and pain. Before his eyes could fully focus, before he could utter a final curse or plea, Prince Riga raised one of his handguns, now reloaded, and fired a single, precise shot. The light bullet pierced the king's forehead, extinguishing the last vestiges of his life and the demonic power that had corrupted the throne. Silence descended upon the blood-soaked throne room, broken only by the lingering hum of spent light magic and the ragged breaths of the prince and his loyal guards. Rhaegar lowered the weapon. For a long moment, he stared at the body that had once been father, king, monster. Then, he turned to the throne and walked forward into the light. He kept his back towards his guards, making sure they couldn't see the tears coming down his cheeks. "Hey, you girls hungry? I am famished."
The sun's rays stretched across the endless expanse of the savannah. A cool breeze, carrying the scent of grass, brushed against Chinaka's face as she revved the engine of Gethy's rugged motorcycle. The vehicle, a sturdy contraption of polished metal and worn leather, rumbled beneath her, eager to chew through the miles of dirt path ahead. She'd spent a restless night after the harrowing events at Leonotis' home. Sadia's sacrifice, the terrifying escape of Oko Egin, and the lingering questions about Leander. Sleep had offered little solace, and now, the urgent need for information propelled her forward. The savannah stretched out, a vibrant tapestry of life awakening with the sun. Majestic giraffes browsed lazily on the highest acacia leaves, their long necks silhouetted against the brightening sky. A herd of zebras grazed nearby, their stripes a dizzying shimmer in the morning light, while a solitary lioness, tawny and muscular, stalked through the tall grass, her gaze fixed on her prey. Distant trumpeting signaled the presence of elephants, their massive forms barely visible through the shimmering heat haze. The air hummed with the symphony of chirping insects and early morning bird calls, a stark contrast to the grim purpose that drove Chinaka. Her destination was the nearest town, Nega, where she could access the ancient communication network and send a report to the higher echelons of her order. She tightened her grip on the handlebars, her eyes scanning the horizon, searching not for beauty, but for any sign of disturbance, any hint of the darkness that had shattered the peace of the previous night. Chinaka sped down the dirt path. She spotted an antelope limping on the roadside and slowed to assess the situation. A tree branch protruded from the animal's left leg. Stopping a few feet away, Chinaka regarded it coldly. "No funny business, or I'll kill you," she warned. The antelope tilted its head and stared blankly. "I need information. Tell me the truth, and I'll heal you. Anything else?" Before she could finish, the antelope contorted into a demonic being and lunged. "You're mine," it snarled, only to collapse, bisected by a swift strike of water. The demon screamed in pain as more water sickles materialized around its head. "Now what did I just say?" Chinaka said, her voice flat. "Please," the demon pleaded. What do you want to know?" "The direction the tree demon, Oko Egin, went after it impaled you." The dying demon, choking on its own blood, gestured weakly to the north, relaying everything it could. Chinaka started her motorcycle and turned to leave. "Don't leave me like this," the demon cried, still held down by the water sickles. Chinaka flicked her wrist. A Boastal water sickle severed the demon's head. The demon shuddered, then realized it was fine. The branch in its leg fell away, and it stared after the departing healer, utterly bewildered. The town of Nega rose from the sun-drenched savannah like a scattered handful of emeralds, its vibrant heart beating amidst the vast golden plains. Here, the round mud brick huts, with their intricately thatched roofs, clustered together like a protective embrace, each one painted with swirling patterns of ochre, indigo, and charcoal that told ancient stories. The air was thick with the scent of wood smoke, roasting grains and exotic spices. Nega hummed with the rhythmic sounds of daily life, the distant pounding of pestles, the melodic calls of street vendors, and the joyful shouts of children playing in the dusty lanes. Towering baobab trees, their massive trunks guardians of forgotten lore, dotted the perimeter, their branches reaching skyward as if in silent prayer, while the central market square buzzed with a kaleidoscope of activity, a vibrant hub where traders from distant lands exchanged goods and whispered tales of adventure. Chinaka reached the town. The gate guard recognized her immediately. "Afternoon, Miss Chinaka. I thought you picked up your monthly supplies last week?" Chinaka showed her identification paperwork. "Yes, but I forgot a few things. Is Will in today?" "Oh yes, he's setting up a new town square message fountain. We'll be getting messages straight from the king now." "Good. I'll be off then." Chinaka drove to the market in the town square. A short man was writing runes around a large pond. He looked up, surprised to see her. "Chinaka? Back already?" "No time to talk, Will. I need to send a message right now." Chinaka entered a room containing a stone cauldron. She spoke a few words, gesturing with her hands, then splashed the water. A holographic image of a man appeared, wearing a green toga similar to Gethi's. Chinaka stood at attention. "Chinaka? You just submitted your report last week. What's happened?" the man asked. Chinaka explained the previous night's events. "The tree demon escaped captivity. Sadia is dead, and the scientist has been kidnapped," she reported. "It escaped? How? I thought it was under the same imprisonment spell we use in our own prisons," the man said, shaking his head. "And Sadia is dead. The king will not take that news lightly." He scribbled notes. "Put the Black Ace-Bearer's body on ice," he instructed. "Already done, sir. Also, the tree spirit is heading northwest, towards the dark enchanted forest. Zizi Lalufu, of course. It would seek its home there," the man said. "Good work, Chinaka. It seems your assignment to that godforsaken village may be coming to an end." "Sir? I'll have someone collect the doctor's research, along with the Black Ace-Bearer's body. Keep the body preserved until someone arrives. I want radio silence and stay put until you receive further orders," the man said. He glanced off screen. "What are you doing here?" The feed cut out. Chinaka stared, surprised. She tried to restart the transmission but received no response. Odd, she thought. She said goodbye to Will, mounted her motorcycle and rode home, pondering why she hadn't mentioned Leonotis in her report. No matter, she reasoned. The king has no use for an amnesiac. And with any luck, she'd receive new orders within the month. Will, having finished setting up the message pond, was startled when the feed flickered to life. A teenaged boy appeared on top of the water. "You may not know me," he said, "but I am Prince Rega. My father, King Rega III, has just killed in an attempted coup, and I have inherited the throne. I am now King Regaliptus IV, and my rule is going to be very different." "Leonotis?" Leonotis jolted awake, the lingering echoes of a vivid dream fading from his mind. It was the first dream he truly remembered since awakening in this village 6 months ago. A forest, he recalled, vast and ancient. He tried to hold on to the images, but the insistent call came again. "Leonotis, breakfast is ready?" He scrambled out of bed, knowing a third summons would bring trouble. He dressed quickly in a white V-neck and black shorts, raked his orange hair into a high top, and hurried to the table. "Good morning, Chinaka," he said, sliding into a seat. "I made you plenty of—" "Hey, slow down!" Chinaka exclaimed, but Leonotis was already halfway through his breakfast. He was late for his training session with Gethi. He jumped up, hugged Chinaka, and darted out the door, grabbing his trusty tree branch sword on the way. Gethi was waiting by the clinic gate. "Oh, you actually made it," he said dryly. "Yes, master. Sorry I'm late. I'm ready for my lesson," Leonotis said, a little breathless. "For being late, you'll run double. Now do your circuit," Gethi ordered. Leonotis stretched quickly and began his run. Chinaka walked to Gethi, leaning against the gate. "How's the training going?" she asked. That kid is not normal, Gethy sighed. He's getting faster and stronger every day. You've had him running 5 laps around the village every morning for the last 3 months. No, I doubled it last week just so we'd have time to talk, Gethy complained. And he's absorbed all the basic combat skills. When he asked me to train him, I assumed he'd give up after a day or 2. It's been 6 months now. I'm running out of things to teach him. Chinika laughed, but then turned serious. Gethy, any word from the king? No new orders since they dismissed me from the King's Guard. Let's face it, the new king has no need for a one-armed soldier. How about you? Yeah, nothing for me either. With how bloody the coup was, I doubt there's anyone there left that even remembers we're out here. Not that I really mind. It's nice to relax and work in the clinic, Chinika said, settling in beside Gethy. Taking care of Leonotis is another full-time job, Gethy said. It's all temporary, though. One day, we'll either be called back or he'll get his memory back. I know. These months have been good. Let's just enjoy this time together while we can. Chinika leaned on Gethy and quietly reflecting on their peaceful life. The rhythmic slap of Leonotis' worn boots on the packed earth echoed slightly in the cool morning air. Mist still clung to the thatched roofs of the village houses, and the scent of bread mingled with damp soil. He rounded the corner by the baker's, offering a wide grin and a wave. Old Mrs. Kunal, leaning on her broom in her doorway, paused her sweeping. Her lips, usually set in a firm line, twitched upwards at the corners, and she gave a short, stiff nod. Morning, she rasped, the word barely audible. Leonotis' grin widened. A few months ago, she would have just squinted suspiciously. Further down, and Sherry the Fletcher looked up from sorting arrow shafts, grunted something that might have been a greeting, and went back to his work. Progress. As he passed the marketplace, a crate of apples tumbled from a vendor's unsteady stack. Without breaking stride, Leonotis scooped up the rolling fruit, depositing them back into the flustered vendor's arms with a quick, "Careful there," before continuing his run. The vendor stared after him, mouth slightly open, but not everyone met his gaze. By the smithy, Manzim stopped hammering, the sudden silence loud. As Leonotis approached, the blacksmith turned his broad back pointedly, examining a horseshoe with intense focus. Leonotis' pace didn't falter, though the easy smile tightened for just a breath before relaxing again. Then he saw Mr. Wanzhao, standing motionless by his gatepost, arms crossed tightly over his chest. His face was granite. Leonotis raised a hand, a cheerful, "Morning, Mr. Wanzhao." The man didn't respond. His eyes, hard and accusing, followed Leonotis' every step as he ran past. Leonotis' gaze flickered involuntarily towards the empty patch of worn grass near Wanzhao's porch, remembering the frantic accusations, the posters for a lost dog named Pip nailed to the village notice board. Still blames me. A knot tightened briefly in Leonotis' stomach. He forced his eyes forward, focusing on the path ahead, hoping with a fierce, silent plea that wherever Pip had wandered off to over 6 months ago, he'd had nothing to do with the dog's disappearance. Leonotis was eager for his training with Gethy today. Gethy had said they would investigate the demon sightings reported near the village's protection shrine. He was excited to use his sword skills for something truly helpful. Then everyone would see he was different, even Mr. Wanzhao. Finally, Leonotis finished his run and met Gethy, who opened the clinic door as he approached. "Finished your run?" "Yes, Master Gethy." "Was that even an hour?" "All right, well, drink this. We've got a demon to find," Gethy said, tossing Leonotis a water bottle. "Wait, I have to get something from my room," Leonotis said, running into the clinic to his room. The morning sun slanted through the windows of the clinic, illuminating Leonotis as he meticulously draped a length of rough-spun cloth over his t-shirt and shorts. He'd managed to secure it at the shoulder with a crudely fashioned bone clasp, attempting a look that was somewhere between noble warrior and slightly disheveled laundry accident. Gethi, who was adjusting his own, considerably more authentic-looking warrior's toga, worn with a distinct air of someone who'd been doing this for decades, paused, his brow arching slightly. "And what, precisely, is that you're wearing, Leonotis?" Gethi asked, his voice carefully trying to hide a laugh, though a faint twitch at the corner of his mouth betrayed him. Leonotis puffed out his chest, adjusting the folds of the cloth. "It's my battle attire, a warrior's, toga, for facing the fearsome fox demon." He struck a dramatic pose. Gethi blinked slowly. "A toga? Over your fearsome shirt and those shorts that appear to be held together by sheer willpower?" "It adds gravitas," Leonotis insisted, his voice a little less certain now under Gethi's scrutiny. And it's traditional. You wear one." He gestured to Gethi's own expertly draped garment. "Indeed I do," Gethi replied. "Mine is made of sturdy, demon-hide fabric as strong as chainmail and is secured with actual talisman clasps made by the Moatia. Yours appears to be a repurposed bedsheet that could fall off at any moment." "It's secure. I already tested it," Leonotis countered, demonstrating with a sudden lunge that nearly sent him sprawling. Gethi sighed, a hint of amusement finally breaking through his stoic facade. "Take that off. You'll be tripping over your own feet." "It's a symbol," Leonotis declared, striking another pose, this time managing to stay upright. "A symbol of my devotion as your pupil, and my spiritual readiness." Gethi finally conceded, putting his hand on his hilt, a small smile playing on his lips. "Well, always keep your shorts on under that thing. Your spiritual readiness looks like it would expose your less spiritually ready undergarments to the general public. Perhaps a belt?" Leonotis glanced down, suddenly aware that a particularly enthusiastic movement had indeed caused the toga to shift precariously. He quickly adjusted it. "I think I have a belt inside." Gethi chuckled softly, shaking his head. "Right then, go ahead and get it." He gestured towards the door, a genuine warmth in his eyes. Despite the ridiculousness of Leonotis' attire, there was a spark of the brave, determined boy Gethi had come to care for. Leonotis, beaming, adjusted his toga one last time. "Lead the way, Master Gethi." He followed Gethi out the door, his makeshift toga flapping heroically in the breeze, a brown belt securing his attire around his waist. Chinika leaned against the cool stone of the window frame, tracing the path of the two figures as they passed through the outer gate. Their matching green garments billowed slightly in the morning breeze, looking almost ceremonial. A soft smile touched her lips at the sight of their coordinated departure. Then, her gaze sharpened. The smile vanished, replaced by a sudden furrow between her brows. She squinted, focusing on the drape of the fabric on Leonotis just before they disappeared around the bend. Was that the faint dark green embroidered hem? The one from her good linen set? Her breath hitched. "Oh, wait a damn minute, that better not be my good bedsheet," she muttered under her breath.
The village hummed with life, a vibrant tapestry of ochre earth and palm thatch. Circular homes, their walls alive with sacred symbols, twisting lines, protective eyes, and the ancestral blessings of Orisha, clustered in a warm embrace. Above them, smoke from cooking fires ascended in lazy spirals, perfuming the air with the rich scents of okra stew, creamy yam porridge, and the sweet char of roasting plantains. A deep, resonant murmur, the voice of a distant talking drum, pulsed through the very ground, a rhythm older than the first memory. Yet, at the village's ragged edge, where Leonotis and Gethi now stood, the familiar warmth dissolved into a chill. Here, the well-trodden path surrendered to a wilder domain of scrub and thorny underbrush that clawed at the footpath. The colossal forms of Iroko and Obek trees, a dense ancient wall, swallowed the horizon. The ceaseless symphony of birdsong, a constant companion within the village, dwindled to a cautious, almost fearful silence. Even the wind, when it stirred, seemed to hold its breath. A single cowrie-marked stone, a silent sentinel etched with a warding charm, stood beside the final homestead. Beyond it lay a land both sacred and deeply feared, the stark, unforgiving border between the known and the untamed unknown. Gethi was known as the village hero for taking all manner of quests for the local village. He'd do anything from protecting transports across the savannah and forests to simply taking out the trash. This current quest was commissioned by the village chief to take care of some monster that attacked a merchant cart. And Leonotis was finally good enough to accompany him. Gethi paused, the soft scuff of his sandals on the earth the only sound. He pressed his fingers, briefly, reverently, against the cool surface of the cowrie stone, a silent plea for passage. Then, with a measured breath, he stepped across the threshold. "Keep your senses sharp, Leonotis," he murmured, his eyes already sweeping the shadowed depths of the trees. "The shrine's protection, it doesn't reach this far anymore." Leonotis hesitated, a knot tightening in his stomach, before following. His mouth was suddenly dry. Around his neck, the woven necklace Chinaka had braided for him, a small, familiar comfort from home, even if he had inadvertently repurposed her best bedsheet into a tunic, itched against his skin. The fleeting thought of home vanished as a colder gust swept through the branches, bringing with it the metallic tang of iron, and something else, something acrid and disturbing, burnt feathers. Up ahead, the forest grudgingly parted, revealing the shrine clearing. The ancient structure, a relic of forgotten reverence, lay half devoured by clinging vines and thick moss. Its protective sigils, once vibrant, were now faint, their lines fractured and dull against the weathered stone. Scattered on the damp earth were chicken bones, broken calabash offerings, and melted wax, detritus of faded rituals. But it wasn't the disrepair that sent a jolt of ice through Leonotis. It was the claw marks, deep, savage gouges raked across the shrine's base, as if colossal talons had torn through solid rock. Gethi knelt, his fingers tracing the raw lines. Too large for any dog, too sharp for a wildcat, and these... He gestured to the scorch marks, dark and unnatural, along the outer ring of stones. These weren't made by firewood. Leonotis swallowed hard, the sound loud in the sudden quiet. "Then what?" Gethi looked up, his gaze heavy. "A creature that doesn't belong here. Not anymore." "This is where the attack happened?" Leonotis asked, his eyes wide with a mix of trepidation and excitement. He swallowed, his grip tightening on his tree branch sword. He could almost hear the chaos, the screams, the clash of metal against something else. "Over there!" Gethi pointed to a set of tracks. "Fox prints, but larger than any fox I've ever seen. And the claws!" He trailed off, his expression grim. They followed the tracks, the silence broken only by the crunch of leaves under their feet. The air grew colder, the shadows deeper. Leonotis shivered, though he wasn't sure if it was from fear or the chill. Suddenly Gethi stopped, his hand raised. "Wait," he whispered. "Listen. Do you hear it?" Leonotis strained his ears. A faint sound, a low growl mixed with a high-pitched whine, echoed through the trees. It was a sound that made the hair on his neck stand on end. Gethi drew his sword, the metal whispering as it left its scabbard. The blade gleamed in the dim light, sharp and deadly. "Stay ready, Leonotis," Gethi ordered, his voice firm, "and keep your eyes open." They moved forward cautiously, the strange growling growing louder with each step. The trees thinned, revealing a small, overgrown shrine. And there, crouched before it, was the creature. It was a fox, but twisted and monstrous. It was easily the size of a large lion, with fur stained with the color of dried blood. Its eyes glowed with an eerie red light, and its teeth were long and sharp, dripping with a viscous fluid. It was tearing at something on the ground, its movements savage and hungry. Leonotis gasped, his heart pounding. The stench of decay and something acrid and unnatural filled his nostrils. The fox demon raised its head, its glowing red eyes fixing on them. A low growl rumbled in its chest, and it bared its fangs in a silent snarl. "Easy, beast," Gethi said, his voice calm but firm. He stepped forward, his sword held ready. "We don't want to hurt you. We just want to know what you want here." The fox demon didn't respond with words. It launched itself at them, a blur of red fur and sharp teeth, its unearthly growl turning into a high-pitched, terrifying shriek. Gethi stepped in front of Leonotis, his sword flashing. Leonotis, despite his earlier bravado, stumbled back as the fox demon lunged. "What's wrong with it?" he yelped, barely deflecting a swipe with his wooden sword. "Mushrooms!" Gethi shouted over the din, pointing to the glowing fungi sprouting from the creature's back. "It's eaten berserk mushrooms." "Berserk mushrooms?" Leonotis echoed, parrying another wild attack. The fox demon, clearly agitated by their commentary, leaped onto a nearby tree, then launched itself at Leonotis with surprising agility. "Look out!" Gethi yelled, shoving Leonotis aside. The demon crashed to the ground where Leonotis had been standing, its claws scraping the ground. Sprawled on the ground, Leonotis scrambled for his tree branch sword. Okay, I'm in the fight now," he declared, brandishing the stick with more enthusiasm than skill. The fox demon, momentarily distracted by a passing butterfly, began chasing its own tail, spinning in a dizzying circle. Gethi blinked, lowering his sword slightly. "Is it dancing?" "Is that normal for fox demons?" Leonotis asked, scrambling to his feet. Gethi seized the opportunity. "Right, let's use this." He lunged, attempting a swift strike, but the demon, mid-spin, abruptly changed direction, causing Gethi to hit nothing but air. He stumbled, momentarily off balance. Seeing his master falter, Leonotis charged forward, wielding his tree branch sword with surging courage. He whacked the fox demon soundly on its rear. The demon yelped, more startled than injured, and turned its glowing red eyes on Leonotis. It snarled, then let out a noise that sounded suspiciously like a hiccup. "Did it just hiccup?" Leonotis asked, lowering his stick in confusion. The fox demon, looking thoroughly bewildered, hiccuped again, then sat on its haunches, staring at Leonotis with a dopey expression. Gethi watched the bizarre scene unfold, a mixture of disbelief and amusement on his face. "Well, maybe if we try again." "Talk to it," Leonotis suggested, taking a tentative step forward. "Are you out of your mind?" Gethi asked, incredulous. "That thing could rip you to shreds." "But it's not attacking," Leonotis pointed out. "Maybe it just needs a friend?" Leonotis approached the fox demon cautiously, his tree branch sword held loosely. "Hey, it's okay," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "We're not gonna hurt you." The fox demon tilted its head, its glowing eyes still unfocused. It let out a soft whine, then flopped onto its side, its tail thumping weakly against the ground. Gethi, sword still in hand, watched from a distance where he could intervene if needed, his expression a mix of bewilderment and reluctant fascination. I don't believe this." Leonotis knelt beside the fox demon, offering a hesitant hand. "See? It's just sick." The fox demon sniffed Leonotis's hand, then licked it with a large, rough tongue. Leonotis giggled, his fear replaced with a strange sense of camaraderie. From behind him, Gethi let out a sharp sigh of exasperation. Of all the bizarre, ridiculous, he stepped forward in one clean stride, and with a flick of his wrist, his blade hissed through the air. Shft! One by one, the fungi were sliced free, dark sap leaking from their severed stems. They hissed faintly as they hit the forest floor, curling inwards like dying insects. The reaction was instant. The demon fox let out a keening, unnatural scream. Its body convulsed violently, limbs spasming as its monstrous form collapsed inward. Fur seemed to ripple and suck back into skin. Clawed paws twitched, bones shrank with sickening pops and cracks. The grotesque bulk of the creature deflated like a punctured wineskin until what remained lay still and silent in a bed of moss. Leonotis stared, breath caught in his throat. Where the demon had stood, towering, snarling, otherworldly, now sat a trembling fox cub, barely the length of his forearm. Its fur was soft again, rich russet and white, its eyes dark and wet with confusion. The creature blinked slowly, gave a confused little yip, and tilted its tiny head. Leonotis's jaw dropped. He turned to Gethi, stunned. "Don't look at me," Gethi muttered, holding up his hand defensively, his gaze still fixed on the cub. Never seen the like. A slow smile spread across Leonotis's face. He crouched down, wiggling his fingers. "Well, hello there," he whispered. The cub cautiously sniffed the air, then took a tentative step forward, batting playfully at the laces of Leonotis's boot with a tiny paw. "It's adorable," Leonotis breathed, mesmerized. Gethi managed a tight smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. His attention shifted from the charming scene to the patch of ground where the creature had first stood. Scattered remnants of sickly purple fungi lay wilting on the moss. He nudged one with his toe. It looked disturbingly similar to the berserk mushrooms he occasionally encountered to the east, yet the color was deeper, almost bruised, and the texture seemed subtly wrong, slicker. The energy that pulsed from the growths was faint. He watched Leonotis gently stroke the cub's head, the small creature now tumbling over his feet in apparent bliss. Gethi's brow furrowed. This warped fungus, turning harmless creatures into raging beasts. His gaze drifted from the innocent play to the corrupted remnants on the ground, a cold knot forming in his stomach. Was this some terrifying new blight born of the woods themselves, or was something far more deliberate twisting the natural order? The weight of the crown felt heavier than its gold and jewels as King Rhaegar IV sat upon the throne. The faint, almost imperceptible stain on the marble floor served as a stark reminder of the bloody dawn of his reign. Before him stood Njiru, the black Aesir, no longer gaunt and chained, but clad in surprisingly well-fitting, if somewhat somber, robes provided by the royal tailor. Njiru's hollow eyes, now possessing a disconcerting clarity, scanned a series of meticulously detailed scrolls spread across a heavy oak table. "As you now command, Your Majesty, I have compiled a preliminary inventory of your late father's endeavors." He cleared his throat, a dry, rustling sound. It appears his scientific curiosity extended far beyond the acceptable boundaries of royal decree. He unfurled the first scroll. In the northern territories near the Black Peaks, there was Project Chimera. Utilizing captured vultures and mountain lions, your father's ace-bearers attempted to create hybrid beasts. Initial reports indicate a high mortality rate among the subjects, with surviving specimens exhibiting unpredictable temperaments and a regrettable tendency to devour their handlers. Rhaegar leaned forward, his brow furrowed. Vulture-lion hybrids. What was the intended purpose? "Unclear, Your Majesty," Njiru replied, consulting the scroll. "Potentially for aerial shock troops, though the logistical challenges of their care and control appear to have been significant. The project was overseen by a master alchemist, Bolgar, whose current whereabouts are unknown." Njiru moved to the next scroll. In the southern marshlands, there was Project Amphibious. This involved the manipulation of piranhas and captured soldiers to create amphibious infantry capable of prolonged underwater combat. The results, according to these accounts, were grotesque. Subjects displayed severe physiological deformities and limited cognitive function. Rega's jaw tightened. Deformities? Were these successes? By your late father's metrics, perhaps, Njiru said with a hint of disdain. They could breathe underwater and possessed enhanced strength. However, their loyalty was questionable and their dietary requirements unconventional. A few escaped and their whereabouts unknown. Scroll after scroll, Njiru's monotone voice detailed a variety of disturbing experiments. There was Project Golem Heart, an attempt to imbue stone and mud constructs with stolen ace, often resulting in unstable and violent automatons. Project Ethereum, a reckless delving into the manipulation of raw ace energy, which had apparently resulted in several catastrophic explosions and the permanent scarring of a significant portion of the eastern plains. Rega listened, his initial curiosity curdling into a cold fury. The sheer scope and callous disregard for life displayed by his father's misguided projects were staggering. He had envisioned a kingdom burdened by war and famine, but the extent of this hidden cruelty was far more profound. It appears several tree spirits called dryads were captured and were taken southwest, and an attempt was made to... Finally, Rega held up a hand, silencing Njiru. Enough, he said, his voice low and heavy. This madness ends now. He rose from the throne, his gaze hardening. Njiru, your expertise in these matters is now paramount. You will be responsible for assessing the viability and logical merits of every ongoing experiment initiated by my father. Njiru's hollow eyes flickered with a hint of surprise, then a calculating gleam. And if I deem them unworthy? Then they will cease immediately, Rega declared, his voice leaving no room for argument. Any project deemed a failure, any experiment resulting in unnecessary suffering or posing a threat to the stability of the kingdom will be dealt with. He fixed Njiru with a piercing stare. And you will send the subjects of those failures to me. I will personally oversee their disposal. I need the target practice. A strange mix of respect and something akin to fear flickered across Njiru's face. Understood, Your Majesty. I shall be thorough in my assessment. Rega settled back onto his throne, the weight of his new responsibility pressing down on him. He had overthrown a tyrant, but the rot of his father's reign ran deep. He looked at Njiru, a dangerous alliance forged in the darkness of the dungeons. He would use the Black Aesir's knowledge to cleanse the kingdom of this hidden horror, but he would ensure that power, even in the hands of a former prisoner, would be kept in check. The era of unchecked experimentation was over. The king would now decide what lived and what died. The morning sun, already promising a sweltering day, beat down on the dusty patch behind the small hillside clinic. A rooster crowed lazily from somewhere down the slope, its cry swallowed by the rustling leaves of the baobab trees and the clatter of morning life beginning in the village. Smoke curled from thatched kitchens, where women pounded yam and stirred thick morning porridges. Children darted barefoot between narrow alleys, chasing goats and each other, laughter echoing like wind chimes through the air. The distant clang of metal rang from Mazim's forge, where sparks danced off heated iron as he shaped farming tools with slow, deliberate rhythm. Somewhere uphill, the local herbalist's voice could be heard calling out the names of roots and tinctures as she laid them out to dry. But just behind the clinic, tucked away from the waking world, Leonotis stood in grim determination, locked in battle with a silent enemy. He swung his tree-branch sword at the dummy, really just a bundle of dried thatch tied with strips of worn fabric to a crooked wooden post. Dried grass flew loose with each strike, but the blows lacked precision. Slash, parry, thrust. Gethi's instructions echoed in his head, the cadence of discipline, though his movements had not yet earned grace. He lunged forward, shifting his weight just as he'd been taught, but the effort felt clunky, forced. The stick bent too much with every swing, betraying his inexperience. His body was youthful and eager, but his limbs lagged behind the choreography he imagined. Sweat trickled down his temple, carving lines through the fine layer of red dust coating his skin. The air was thick with the scent of warm earth, dry bark, and the faint perfume of crushed herbs drifting from the clinic's open windows. A lizard darted across the training patch, pausing briefly to blink at Leonotis before vanishing beneath a rock. He struck again, harder this time, a burst of effort that he hoped would trigger a surge of power. But the tingle of ace that should have accompanied the movement, the subtle flicker of something ancient and strong, was barely there. A whisper, a taunt. His shoulders slumped. He dropped the stick to his side and let out a sigh, long and low, as the promise of strength once again slipped through his fingers. His ace felt like a nearly dry well, there, but just out of reach. The village sounds carried on around him. A woman called out to her sons to fetch water from the spring. The rhythmic thump of pestles in mortars pulsed like a heartbeat from nearby courtyards. A cow lowed, somewhere near the western ridge, where the grass was greener and the herders let their animals graze under the watch of sleepy dogs. Leonotis closed his eyes and recalled Gethi's patient voice. Feel the wind move with you. Don't push it, draw it. He inhaled, feet spread shoulder-width apart, knees bent. He could almost hear Gethi's footsteps circling him like a hawk, correcting his stance with the soft tap of a wooden staff. He focused on a swaying branch across the yard. Inhale, hold the breath at the base, he murmured to himself. The air filled his lungs, his muscles coiling like springs. He raised his arm, then slashed downward, shouting, "Air strike!" Nothing. No shift in the wind, no stirring dust, not even the curious tilt of a nearby bird's head. He stood there, breathless, the only movement the slight sag of his shoulders. Another sigh, this one smaller, more tired. The sun had climbed higher now, and the dusty courtyard shimmered in its glare. A solitary beetle trudged across the cracked ground, undisturbed by Leonotis's failed magic or the world's indifference. With a groan, he let the stick fall to the earth. It landed with a soft thud, scattering more dust. Then he collapsed backward, arms flung out, eyes aimed skyward. The clouds drifted lazily across the blue, unconcerned with the boy's ambitions. Overhead, red-billed hawks circled in the heat, riding invisible currents. A bee buzzed past his ear. Then, a shadow moved across the sky. Leonotis sat up abruptly, blinking against the light. There, soaring between two hills, high above the tallest trees, was a giant bird. Its wings beat slowly, majestically, each stroke stirring the wind like the sails of an old ship. Suspended beneath it, tethered by glowing rope and swaying slightly in the air, was a large, ornate carriage, its lacquered sides painted with shimmering gold symbols, its glass windows catching the sunlight like fragments of starfire. He stared, mouth agape. The weariness vanished. Even his frustration with his faltering magic evaporated in the face of such wonder. Someone important was coming to Idara village, and for reasons he could not yet name, Leonotis knew this was not a passing visit. This, whatever it was the beginning of something. "Leonotis, inside now," Chinaka called from the clinic doorway. "Leonotis, wait upstairs," she added as he entered. The massive bird-drawn carriage landed with a gentle thud on the packed earth in front of Leonotis's old family home, a modest compound nestled beneath towering ebony trees whose roots coiled like sleeping serpents. The afternoon sun gilded the scene with warm gold, illuminating the ornate carvings, and burnished metalwork that adorned the carriage. The giant bird pulling it, with feathers that shimmered like molten bronze and deep emerald, flexed its massive wings before settling down, eyes sharp and alert. Two figures emerged from the carriage's shadow, one broad-shouldered and muscular, moving with the calm assurance of a seasoned warrior. The other, slight and angular, his movements precise and almost serpentine. Both wore long black coats embroidered with the insignia of a black crown, a symbol of the kingdom's elite enforcers and the secretive inner circle of King Rhaegar's court. Chinaka, the caretaker and steadfast guardian of Leonotis' home, hurried forward with practiced grace. Her dark eyes flicked toward the insignia, recognition and unease crossing her face. Without hesitation, she offered them earthenware cups filled with cool water and honey, a gesture of hospitality and tentative goodwill. The men declined without a word, their gazes scanning the compound like predators assessing their territory. Upstairs, Leonotis pressed his forehead against the cool glass of the window, watching the majestic bird and the enigmatic men below. He traced the glint of sunlight dancing on the creature's feathers and imagined the untold tales it must carry. He wondered if Gethi, his absent mentor, had ever ridden such a beast during his countless adventures, perhaps soaring over war-torn landscapes or skirting the jagged peaks of the Shadow Mountains. More than anything, Leonotis pondered the true purpose of the black-coated visitors. What business did they have here, in this forgotten corner of Idara village? He strained to catch their words as Chinaka spoke softly, but the conversation was muffled and distant. Then, suddenly, Chinaka's eyes snapped upward toward the window, her expression sharp and urgent. "Get out of sight," her gaze implored. But fate was cruel. One of the men's eyes locked onto Leonotis immediately, and with a measured nod, he pointed at the boy. "Come down, Leonotis," Chinaka called, her voice taut with unspoken tension. Reluctantly, Leonotis descended the wooden stairs and stepped outside. Only one man remained in the courtyard, a dark presence emanating from him like the shadow of a storm. Without preamble, he produced a dagger from his coat, a blade black as midnight, etched with runes that pulsed faintly with an eerie, otherworldly light. "I don't have an attribute stone," the man said, his voice cold and deliberate, "but if he truly is a child of darkness, he will activate the knife." The dagger was pressed into Leonotis's palm. He stared at it intently, willing some flicker of power to rise within him, but the blade remained inert, its runes unlit. "There you have it. The boy has no dark magic," Chinaka said, surprised, but feigning confidence. She had personally seen Leonotis wield black arts for almost 2 years, ever since he turned 10. She didn't understand how all his black magic was gone, but she didn't let the thought show on her face. His lineage should have resulted in a black magic affinity. His mother claimed she tested him 2 years ago and he had high black ace, the man said, his gaze unwavering. "Maybe it was just wishful thinking," Chinaka suggested. The man stared at her blankly. Then, the other man came from around the corner. Hovering beside him, surrounded by swirling black energy, was a large piece of ice. Frozen within was a woman. She had long black hair, dark brown skin, and wore a black dress. In her hands was a staff with an animal skull at its top. Leonotis recognized the woman as his mother. Chinaka had shown him pictures, hoping to trigger his memory, but nothing stirred in him. They had held a small funeral, but to Leonotis, his mother felt little more than a stranger to him. He hadn't known that Chinaka had been keeping her corpse on ice. Leonotis didn't know how he should feel about this new revelation. Chinaka's eyes widened in anger. "I said to bring her out when I gave the signal." The other man ignored her. "When will the frost spell need renewing?" "The spell will hold for about 2 days before you'd need to reinforce it," Chinaka said, her voice strained. "We can make it back to the kingdom in 3 days if we push them," he replied. The ace-bearer opened the back door of the carriage and floated the frozen woman inside. Both men started to climb into the carriage. "Wait, what about the boy? I assume you aren't taking him with you?" Chinaka asked, her voice rising. The ace-bearer looked at her. "We can't take on any dead weight. Besides, Sunjiru has no use for a boy without black magic." Leonotis felt a surge of relief. He didn't want to go with them anyway. "The king will expect your immediate presence to report on what happened here," the dark ace-bearer said to Chinaka. "Get in. We'll also need you to ensure the body stays frozen." "I gave my report 6 months ago to my superior," Chinaka said, her jaw tight. "Yeah, well, the new king likes his reports in person," the smaller man said. "You have Sadia's notes on the creature and her body. You report that to the king, and if he really needs me, send word, and I'll come," Chinaka countered. "No, we report to Sunjiru. Like I said, the new king likes his reports in person, especially since you let such a valuable creature escape," the dark ace-bearer said, his voice hardening. The air crackled with tension. Leonotis glanced from Chinaka to the men. His tree-branch sword was inside the house. He had a feeling he might need it. If only Gethi were here, he thought. "Braden, we were told not to kill anyone on this mission," the smaller man, Hinley, said to the larger one, who was removing his cloak. "That depends on her, Hinley," Bradan said, his eyes fixed on Chinaka. "There's nothing we can do if we act in self-defense." "Listen, woman, you swore an oath to the king to obey," Hinley began, but Chinaka cut him off. "I swore that oath to the old king, not this one. I have given my report. Now leave," Chinaka said, standing her ground. Leonotis tensed, ready for whatever might happen. "All right, enough, Braden," Hinley said, turning to get into the carriage. "We can find another water ace-bearer to freeze the body on the way." "Fine," Braden said, picking up his cloak, his expression dark. Chinaka and Leonotis watched as the carriage flew away. Chinaka sighed in relief when it was out of sight. The sigh from Chinaka seemed to carry away the last vestiges of the dark ace-bearer's oppressive presence, leaving a heavy stillness in the courtyard. Leonotis stared at the empty sky where the carriage had vanished, the afternoon sun suddenly feeling less warm, the familiar sounds of Idara now muted by the chilling revelations of the day. The world was far more complex and dangerous than he had ever imagined.